Hello everyone. This is our last lecture of this semester, if you can believe it. It's pretty brief because there's a video embedded in here, I'm sure you're all shocked, about social marketing to help make the distinction between social media and social marketing. So, I think it's helpful, as always, to start with the definition of social marketing. So, there are many definitions. This one I found to be most comprehensive and in most plain English. So, social marketing is the process for influencing human behavior on a large scale using marketing principles for the purpose of societal benefit rather than commercial profit. So, in short, this is using what we would consider normal consumer marketing or product marketing strategies to improve public health. The focus is on outcomes to improve personal and social welfare rather than selling a particular product or the outcome being a profit for a particular corporation or organization. Social marketing really stands alone. It is not media advocacy, so it's not just advocating for a particular cause or issue through the media. It is not health communication, which is a whole other class if you're interested in that next semester. But health communication really focuses on the particular message necessary rather than the change in behavior and health outcome. It's not social advertising campaigns, so it takes it essentially a step further. Social advertising you can think of as billboards that you might see, or even public service announcements talking about a particular social issue or public health issue, but social marketing really, again, tries to influence behavior. And it's not social communication in general, so we'll get into more of the details of what it really entails. Social marketing really is a nuanced program planning, so not unlike community health education or health communication or general program planning. Social marketing is also a very strategic and thoughtful process, ideally based in theory, often part of a communication network or strategy, but it is a standalone piece. And we hope that it's grounded in research, in theory in particular. So we can learn a lot, not just from theories that advise us about how to create behavior change or how someone adapts a new or adopts a new particular behavior, but that we can also do our research. And I don't just mean empirical evidence suggesting this particular social marketing is the best of all, however, that's a piece of it, but I'm also talking about research in terms of who your audience is, what they are experiencing, what their barriers are to change, a much more ecological perspective. I'm hoping that you find this helpful in general to lay the foundation, and I think the video will really help to illustrate all these different points. But this is important, I think, to make distinctions between social marketing, commercial marketing, and health education. We've been focusing all semester long really on health education, which even in all of your proposals is generally very individually focused. Social marketing is different in that this is really for society at large. This is looking for improvements community-wide, which obviously is incredibly different than commercial marketing, which is focused on the marketing organization or the producer of the marketed good in particular. So this is not looking for more brand recognition and better sales for Nike. This is looking at maybe how to get a community up and moving that is otherwise struggling with higher rates of obesity and diabetes, for example. So types of outcomes, I'm working backwards again here from health education, we focus so much on change in knowledge, attitude, skills, and then practice of those skills. Social marketing really seeks to change behaviors that increase personal and social welfare. So again, social marketing meaning social welfare is how I kind of put this in my brain. So the benefit and the good of society, not just a social group. So we're still looking at knowledge, attitudes, change with social marketing, but also looking at values and norms that inform and influence behaviors in general. And the benefits here tend to be longer term. If you're looking and working on all these different fronts, we would hope that the benefits of such marketing would be more long-standing. Again, in comparison to commercial marketing, we're looking at purchasing behavior attitudes towards a product, but we're not looking at any greater good. It's simply focused on the particular product at hand. Characteristics of audiences change throughout too, depending on what you're looking at. Again, starting with health education, as we have talked about on many occasions and was illustrated in all of your proposals, health education's programs and interventions tend to focus on individuals who might be less educated about the particular topic at hand, and the audience is usually segmented by educational or skill level. Social marketing can and often does reach out towards the same kind of population or characteristics in a particular audience as health education, so typically less affluent, a bit more diverse, arguably harder to reach, and more in need of social services. And also important to notice the difference here that in social marketing, audiences are often segmented by psychographic attributes, and psychographic is a fancy way of talking about values or opinions, lifestyles, which is different than commercial marketing. So characteristics of audiences who are commercially marketed to are typically more affluent because they then have more commercial or monetary means, easier to reach, and they're segmented by psychographic and demographic attributes. So not only are they looked at for their personalities or values or opinions, but they're also looked at in their demographic characteristics. If you think about normal marketing that you are exposed to, for lack of a better word, on a regular basis, you can see alcohol ads are typically geared towards young, vibrant, well-to-do white people, depending on the drink, right? Or you can watch different alcohol ads and see that they are targeting particular populations depending on the beverage. Another key piece that helps distinguish across these different facets of work, really, is voluntary exchange. So in health education, it is sometimes a voluntary exchange, sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's mandated that people are to participate in a particular program based on their affiliation or participation in other groups, or it could be that there was literally a run-in with the law around a particular issue and therefore health education is mandated. And the value of whatever's being discussed, the topic at hand or the presentation itself, is really determined by the educator. We would like to think that it is rooted in the community or in the needs of the population, but oftentimes the value is determined by the educator. Looking back over at social marketing, voluntary exchange is really helping people to weigh social and economic costs and benefits. So although there's no monetary exchange and costs are often subsidized for these kinds of programs, I think of programs run through the CDC or some of the big conglomerates that we're used to hearing about, like American Cancer Society and the like. We're helping people to weigh the costs, both socially and economic, and engaging in the way that we'd hope them to by shifting their thoughts and behaviors around, for example, again, drinking. So yes, it is socially challenging to say no to a drink, but we can help people understand the benefits both to their pocket and to their well-being if they can change the social situation. So in social marketing, choices are fully informed, right? You're not mandated to cooperate in these social marketing exchanges. Very different again from commercial marketing, with monetary exchange being the first and foremost. The consumer is the end-all be-all in how much they choose to use their purchasing power, right? So they're weighing their own costs and benefits of purchasing a particular item. And certainly is biased in favor of the product. So it's a voluntary exchange, although some could argue that commercial marketing, I think around toys or around fitness gear in some occasions, plays on the psychographic attributes of a particular group, but absolutely is manipulated and biased in favor of the product and the producers of that product. Last but not least, another piece that's important to distinguish amongst these pieces of social marketing, commercial marketing, health education is market perspective. So looking again at health education first, economic factors are important only if they affect health literacy or ability to process the information. So when you're looking at the market around health education, the market really is those economic factors and things that are impinging on people's ability to consume the information you're providing. In social marketing, products are certainly less tangible than they would be in commercial marketing, and far more complex. This is not just a toy. This is not just an ab roller. This is something much greater as we're talking about behavior change around a particular challenging issue. And economic factors are less important. Sorry, the word was knocked off there in this. Again, compared to commercial marketing, where the market perspective is absolutely product tangible driven. Economic factors are most important, arguably, because this is, if you're commercially marketing someone something, you're hoping they'll buy it, literally, hook, line, and sinker. In social marketing, we're hoping people will buy the message and change their behavior as a result. So I'm hoping this chart is something you can reference back to help make a distinction between health education, which we've been focusing so much on, and social marketing, which arguably kind of takes health education to a bigger, broader level. So there's 5 principles of social marketing. I'm not going to spend too much time because I think that the video that I'm going to have you watch, which is about a half an hour long, will help to illustrate these principles better than me just talking about them. So like was somewhat said in the, or discussed in the table I just went through, 5 principles of social marketing. We know that social marketing is focused on behavioral outcomes, prioritizing the consumers rather than the marketers, maintaining an ecological perspective, developing a strategic mix, a marketing mix of communication elements. So again, borrowing from the commercial side of things in terms of marketing and applying them to behavioral outcomes around a particular health issue or social issue. So you may have heard of the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. I'm not going to spend too much time on those. If you want more information, I'm happy to share it with you. But this idea of selling a particular product and making that cost-benefit analysis fairly easy for people to figure out to change behavior, the placement of the information itself, and the promotion of the information. So there's lots that goes into marketing when you think about it in general. I think of one of my favorite documentaries called The Corporation. I highly, highly encourage you to watch it this summer in your quote-unquote spare time. But there are big, big, big companies out there marketing to children in particular. So I don't know the name of the corporation they were directly speaking of, but it was a toy manufacturing company. Heavy-hitting global corporation. And they hire psychologists, literally, hire psychologists to better infiltrate the minds of children to make them better consumers. So if we can apply that much force behind marketing a particular product or creating people who are good consumers for a commercial sake, it would be interesting to think about applying that same amount of force or energy or monetary backing into social marketing for the betterment of the social welfare, the greater good. The last principle, again, which was highlighted in the table, using audience segmentation to identify meaningful differences among consumers that affect their responses to the product or service being offered. So we want to focus on small groups of people meeting individual needs of those particular consumers, which will help to better tailor the message and therefore the response, we hope, for these campaigns. So drink driving, this is something from Australia, which I think is interesting to call drink driving instead of drunk driving or drinking and driving. This woman, her name is Sandra Jones. She's from or at least was presenting at the Australian Catholic University from the Center for Health and Social Research. She walks through some differences between media campaigns and social marketing campaigns around drinking or drink driving in Australia. I think it does a nice job of illustrating the differences between the two and how effective one can be over the other. So please take some time to watch this. It is about 30 minutes, and I think it's fairly enjoyable. So I want to make the distinction, although they overlap and play into one another, the distinction between media and social marketing. So media here's a definition which I think is growing by the minute. Media are the channels through which information and ideas are communicated to groups of people. Media can include a number of things. Not so long ago, it was simply newspapers, television, or radio. Now we've added this entirely new layer in the last, 10, 15 years, maybe less than that, of social media. So I think of MySpace back in the day, Facebook, Twitter, blogs, Snapchat, so many different ones that I'm not going to list, but those are the big ones we think of as social media. So these are different channels in which to communicate with large groups of people, and all of these platforms, these media platforms, are used for different purposes, and sometimes all together depending on the message and the campaign finance of the message. So as talked about in one of the articles I asked you to read for this week, which I know is likely not the case, so I'm going to give you some bullet points, but please reference the Niger article throughout this if it's helpful to you. Social media refers to activities among people gathered online who share information using conversational media that make it easy to share content in the form of words, pictures, videos, and audios, or I would say a combination of all those things. What's important to pay attention to, and I'm probably preaching to the choir entirely, that social media is booming, right? And it has changed. Facebook is no longer used in general by quote-unquote young people. Twitter and Snapchat have taken over what Facebook used to be in many ways, but it is safe to say that 65% of internet users engage with some sort of social media. The demographics of those folks will change the kind of social media that they're using, but it is safe to say that a large number of people are engaging with social media. It's also interesting, again, this is all in the Niger article, which if we brought this up to 2016 might be even larger numbers, but 60% of state health departments now use social media as a tool, and 80% of physicians who consult online use social media outlet to share medical information. So social media in general is growing at Mach speed. I think of all of the campaigning, the political campaigning that's gone on through social media. We see it just overflowing, right? And now we're also seeing that it's overflowing not for just those purposes or for sharing your videos or pictures from your latest vacation, but that it is an absolutely almost universal tool for the medical community as well. So social media can be really, really useful in a number of ways. This is just a short list, and I encourage you to think past this list. But social media can be used to gather data to inform programs, to ensure they are consumer focused, right? So this social media can be used for example, in a social marketing campaign as a first step. You can reach out to social media, through social media rather, to a particular conglomerate of folks to gain information about what they're experiencing, good and or bad, with a particular issue. So you can collect information on what services are being used, what services are needed, barriers to such services, you name it. So it can be a research gathering tool. Social media can also be used to establish brand awareness or presence. So I think of my Instagram feed and how many times I receive messages about a particular product. I didn't agree to follow any particular brand, but that brand is being shoved in my face when I'm on my Instagram feed. This can be done the same with public health messaging. So it's important that organizations and particular messages essentially have brand awareness and a presence that is normalized and pervasive. So I think of, well, long-standing and well-established, maybe not the best example right now, but American Red Cross. They have a global brand awareness of what they do and the services they provide, although it's been that reputation's been damaged in the last few years, it's still a very widely known presence. And social media can help to create that for upcoming programs and marketing campaigns. Social media can certainly be used to disseminate health information to large audiences. I also think that social media has an increasing role in disseminating critical or emergency health information. That is a whole science, quite literally, behind crisis or emergency communication, but social media has become a larger format or a platform for that to happen at a faster pace than might otherwise be. Social media can reach a larger and more diverse audience, and we'd like to think that social media can help to engage community and develop partnerships, both in lay communities and in medical communities, and hopefully combining the two more readily. So social media has a lot of perks. I did not focus on any of the downsides. I think that there are some ethical concerns. We have issues with access to the internet that would allow people access to social media. If we relied too heavily on social media to disseminate critical health information, we would be missing a significant contingent of people, both in the US and globally, because they don't participate or they can't participate. It takes money and means to be online, let alone to be receiving some of this information. So even in engaging certain communities, you will engage only certain pieces of a community if this is what you rely on. So social media, again, is a platform or a vehicle, as this woman so nicely put it. Social media is the vehicle. Social marketing is what you do with the vehicle. So I don't like to think of social media and social marketing as two distinct or mutually exclusive groups, but that social media can be a platform for social marketing. So now that you have the information from the video in your minds, as well as this kind of brief distinction between social media and social marketing, I would like to do the following. I'm trying to make it a little bit lighter for you guys this week, because I know there's a lot of big projects due and you are working on presentations for me. So this is a bit shorter of an assignment, but I really ask that you engage with this, because this contemplation hopefully will help you further your thinking around how you could use social media and social marketing in the future. So using your proposed community health education program, I would like for you to go on a discussion board, which I've created a link for, to discuss how social media as a platform might be able to enhance the program you proposed. I know a lot of you are really talking about pilot studies, which is exactly a great place to start. But to think, if you're reaching out to a teen population or a community, is there a Twitter handle you could use, right? Those kinds of things to reach folks or stay in more communication with them, or feed them with interesting facts while they're participating. You name it. I would just like to see how all of you think about social media as part of the programming, even if you didn't articulate that by any means in your proposal. That's okay. I'm asking you to take it a step further now. In addition to that, I'm also wanting to hear from you what role social marketing might play in furthering your reach. So as we've made the distinction, community health education is often very individually focused. Social marketing is much broader, more community-based, if not more societally based messaging. So I would like to hear your ideas and thoughts about the role of social marketing in furthering your reach and promoting behavior change in the community. And I encourage you to use the chart if that's helpful, or go back to the video if you need that as well. There's many, many resources online about social marketing and community health education. I encourage you to Google. It's amazing how many times in my jobs, all of them, that I still rely on Google to look for additional resources, so please don't be shy about doing that. And last but not least, I would like for you all to take the time to comment on your colleagues' thoughts and ideas that they're putting out there about their use of social media and social marketing in relation to the proposed community health education programs. So hopefully fairly short and sweet. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. As usual, this discussion board post is due by midnight, the night before our class meets next, so that would be Tuesday the 26th by midnight. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out.